welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you to subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you get your podcast from. And if you could rate it or give it a review, that would be amazing. Thank you. If you're following me on YouTube at Alina IGRADE, you already know that I have been to Baltimore. If you don't, now I just told you. I mentioned in the previous episode that I'm going to go on a short trip, and yes, we've been to Baltimore, my husband and I. It was for the basically 4th of July weekend, but basically we went from Saturday very night, so we had a full Sunday and a full Monday, and then Tuesday morning we had to come back the actual 4th of July because my husband had to work on the 5th, and I also didn't want to be stuck in the craziness of traffic that might have been. Traffic, I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying traffic, but I don't mean cars. Okay, so um, again, if you want to actually visualize everything that I'm saying, I started to make YouTube shorts. So you can go on YouTube and find my account, Alina IGRAD, on YouTube. I'm going to try to also put it in the description of the episode. So you can see some of the shorts and exactly what happened. I had mini vlogs as shorts. Okay, so first and foremost, like always, when we talk about the trip that I took, I start with the reasoning why have I been there, and then I'm telling you about accommodation, transportation, and whatever we did during the trip. So I decided that we should go somewhere because I found out that my husband was not working on the Monday, the 3rd of July. And because, gonna be very honest, I was the runner up for a job that would have made me be outside of New York for 2 months and a half. I didn't get the job, but back then, as I wasn't very sure if I'm going to get it or not, I was thinking, okay, let's do a trip because then soon enough I'm going to start work and then I'm going to be available all the way, like kind of somewhere beginning of November. So, in the scare of, oh my God, I'm not going to have free time anymore, I was like, let's just do a tiny trip, like a tiny trip. And I said before with the Philadelphia trip that Amtrak has cheap tickets if you go in the night or evening or anyway. I think it's between 10 p.m. maybe. I don't remember exactly until 6 or 7 a.m. If you are in this time, you could find really cheap tickets, and that's what we did. And so we found tickets for two people round trip with Amtrak, $60. So we booked the tickets in such a way that we left New York around 11-ish p.m. From Penn Station, and we got to Baltimore around 2 a.m. And when we left around 4 a.m. From Baltimore, and we arrived back in New York around just before 7, I think, if I remember correctly. So that was the transportation. And to just finish basically talking about the transportation, within the city, they have a lot of different public transportation, but some of them are for free. So there are some lines that is like orange line or purple line or red line or green line, if I remember correctly, and they are for free, like you don't have to pay. But the other ones, you have to pay, or obviously there's Uber, there's taxis, whatever you want to take. So for us, we only took the free bus, and then to the train station and back, we actually did take a taxi, like an Uber or Lyft. I don't remember exactly what it was. Okay, accommodation. I'm not going to mention the name of the hotel because I'm kind of complain a lot about it. So we stayed in a hotel that was close to the inner harbor. It was just like 1.5 blocks away from the inner harbor. But I have mixed feelings about that hotel. And I'm going to start with we arrived at the hotel to check in, and from the beginning, there were some issues with our reservation because we made the reservation through a third party, which doesn't everyone do that, in my opinion, or most of the people. And it took a moment for them, if I remember correctly, to find the accommodation. Regardless, I was disappointed that, but this was a miscommunication between my husband and I, that we were on the third floor when we could have been on like an upper level floor. So I hated that, but regardless, whatever, we got to the room, we were really tired because again, it was I think close to 3 a.m. or like 2:30 or something like that. So we just wanted to go to bed and that's it. However, the interesting thing is that I've realized as soon as I checked in and I was in the room that wait a minute, we didn't book a room with two queen beds. We booked a room with one king bed, which means that we don't have the room that we booked. And I also remembered that we were supposed to have a microwave in the room, which we did not. And then in the pictures, there was supposed to be a sort of a couch that we didn't have. And also, there was no space for a couch. So I was very, have we been? But we were so tired. My husband was like, if you want, we can go and ask. And I'm like, nah, I'm too tired. Let's deal with it in the morning. So we had breakfast included, and the breakfast was okay. Like you had your waffles, you had some cereals, you had some hot food like eggs and sausages or something like that, and then some fruits as well, jam, bagel, like the basic nice breakfast, not necessarily like wow kind of a breakfast, but enough that you can eat in the morning with no problem, so you are fed for the day, for the morning. And then we went and we talked about. I'm sorry, I will have to dedicate a little bit of time from this episode talking about the hotel because I was really disappointed. And then I'm going to talk about the city. But we talked to them, and I was very annoyed at the answer that I received because I was just told that, yeah, you book from the third party, and then, I wanted to know, did we pay extra? Because I was under the impression that the room that we booked was more expensive than the room that they offered us. And they said no, they double checked the price and so on. And they were asking us, like, how much did you pay per night? And I'm like, I'm telling you the overnight, like, I'm telling you the total, how much we paid. I don't know. Is that not showing in our booking anymore? It's just telling us the total. Like, I don't care. Like, that's not, you know. And they were like, yeah, we don't know. So eventually they said that, no, obviously. It's not like they're going to be idiots and say, yeah, you paid extra. But then I talked about, but what about the microwave? And they were like, yeah, unfortunately, there's no way that we can accommodate you with that. And I'm like, wow, wow, just wow. Um, I was planning to because I had some leftover food, so I was planning to. And they're like, but if you want, you can use it anytime, and we have here. And I'm like, I don't, like, I have my own food. I'm in a hotel. I don't want you to like the privacy of having a fucking mic. Do I need to explain this? The privacy of having a microwave in my hotel room and needing to use the microwave in a hotel to go in the lobby down where the breakfast is served. This is not the same fucking thing, is it? So I didn't tell them that, but I was very disappointed. I didn't like it, not one bit. Then another thing that happened, the toilet got clogged. So we had to go and tell them that the toilet is clogged. Ugh, I hated that. And then also, we were leaving, as I said earlier, when we left at 3 a.m., and breakfast was from 7 a.m. And this is another story. If I'm going to have time, I'm going to tell you. If not, I'm going to probably bring it up in the next episode, or we will see. But the insanity of asking if we can get like a to go breakfast or something like that was just too much. And I'm saying all of this because I worked as a front desk in a hotel, and I worked in a front desk in a hostel, and I work housekeeping. So all of that, like I had that job. And I know that it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. It's not. You just need to pay attention, and you just need to make sure that you remember to inform your colleague that is changing your shift that whatever you discussed with the freaking guest on your shift, the next one coming after you will know what is that about. Okay, that being said, let's talk about Baltimore. The funny bit is that just a few hours, like in the same day when we decided to leave, my husband finds out from someone, Baltimore? No, what do you mean you're going to Baltimore? It's one, like the crime rate is insane there. Like, no, nobody goes there. Now, if you have been with me for the last few years, you know that I hate so much when people are saying, don't go there about a place. But again, I'm in the United States. The rules don't quite apply. Maybe there are some wrong things. And unfortunately, I'm still kind of like not shocked. Let's not oversay it, but like I'm still kind of like taken aback a little bit because during the train ride when we were going from New York City to Baltimore, there was a shooting happening at somewhere in the south of the city where we never went. We were not even close to that place. But somewhere in the south of the city, there was a shooting happening, and some people have died, including children, and it was like a block party. I don't know if the bad guy was caught up, but it was a little bit stressing when I got there and I found out about the shooting. But since we only had 2 days, and one of them was Sunday, the other one was a Monday, I decided to divide the things. If we wanted to do any museum, to do it on Sunday, because internationally it's known that museums are having the 1 day off on Monday. So in the morning after breakfast, we went actually back to the room and we chilled for a little bit, and then we started going out. And we walked for a little bit, and then we made it amazingly on the clock at 12, on the clock, like few minutes before 12, we made it to the Edgar Allan Poe house slash museum. Edgar Allan Poe is one of the most famous writers or poets of United States. And I have to be honest, I don't remember studying him in school. And if I didn't, then I don't remember reading anything by him. And after being in the museum, I am going to look into reading some of his, obviously, of course I've heard of him. It's not like, who is this and why is, like, no. It's just that I've never been that interested in what he wrote before. But now, after seeing the museum and all that, I'm kind of interested and invested. It cost $10 the entry per person, and we had a bit of a guide. So the guide in the beginning, like on the 12 o'clock, there was like a tour guide, and as we were approaching, he was talking to us. There was like a group of 6 other people in front of the house, and he looked at us, but we were kind of far away, and I'm like, wait, is he talking to us? And then as we really got close, he said, like, are you the 12 o'clock group? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, did you? And I'm like, we didn't book anything. And they were like, yeah, that's okay. You don't have to book anything. And I'm like, okay, then sure. We are the 12 o'clock group. Why not? Obviously. That was the whole point. No, I don't know. So the guy told us about how Baltimore was back then, and more interesting facts about Edgar Allan Poe, like he was paid $50 for one of his pieces that he wrote, which is something like around $1,000 if it's in today's money, which is a lot. So apparently he's the rock star of literature, I would say, for Americans, because he's the only one who managed to survive from his writing, which I didn't know. And whoever is listening to this and is an American is like, yeah, obviously. Well, I didn't know, okay? I didn't know. So we went in the house. It was kind of, it wasn't that much. So I wouldn't give it too much to to visit the house. However, the tour guide was sitting inside the house because there was AC, and he was open to talk with anyone if they had questions or anything like that. So I love the fact that you could just start conversation with the person and really talk and get more into depth. He also mentioned that there's like an amazing festival that happens beginning of October uh, around Edgar Allan Poe, and I kind of want to go and see it, to be honest, but we will see. After that, we went back and we decided to try. We went to the Inner Harbor. Inner Harbor is basically a walking area around the harbor that has, um, obviously, if you want to book a tiny cruise or a cruise for like an hour or so, you can do that. But yeah, the crazy thing was that because it was the basically longer weekend, not so many people were in town. And it was so cool to see Baltimore so empty because local people were all not in town and only like mostly tourists were around. So we went into the Science Museum because it was again the first weekend of the month. My husband, who has an Bank of America card, has free entry to some museums, and this one was included. The name of museum is actually Maryland Science Museum, and I paid $26, so it was kind of expensive if you ask me. But we spent there for like 2 hours or so. We first started with the planetarium show, which we thought that is going to be like a video show of just showing us stars and so on. Instead, it was more of a person. We saw basically the stars as you would see them in Baltimore if there would be no light pollution during summer, spring, summertime. And so we were shown all the stars and the planets, and then whatever you can see and how you can recognize the stars and so on. It was really cool. And it was funny because it was very interactive. Like children were yelling because he was asking, "What does this look like?" And everybody was like this, like that, like this. It was kind of fun. So, and then we visited the museum, and it was really interesting because I love an interactive museum when you get to do stuff in order to understand the science behind it. The funniest bit is that at some point, for some reason, they had information about the earwax. And I'm sorry, I know it's Maryland Science Museum, and there were so many things about electricity, about the planets, about light, about like so many interesting facts, and it was really cool. And then dinosaurs and all that. My one fact that I was like, what? Is the fact that apparently we have wet and dry earwax, and it's genetically transmitted from the parents to children and so on. And the dominant gene is the wet one. So only when both parents have it dry, there's 100% chance to have for the child to have dry earwax. But if a parent has one wet, at least one wet, more chances are for you to get wet. I know it's probably the stupidest thing, but it was in a museum, so it cannot be stupid, right? It's in a science museum. But I was so mind blown. I'm like, what? I didn't know that that's a thing. Why are you telling me right now? Like, I just didn't know this. I'm sorry. And also, when was I supposed to learn this? Is this like something that comes from anatomy? Like, when was I supposed to learn this? Because maybe I learned and I forgot. I don't know. But I was fascinated by this fact. So after we finished with the museum, we went back to the hotel where we chilled for a little bit because we had dinner booked, reserved or whatever, reservation for dinner at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão is known as a Brazilian steakhouse in which you have all you can eat salad bar with all sort of fruits and veggies and salads and stuff like that. And you can eat all sort of meats. You are sitting at a table, you have a chip that when it's on green, that means that somebody's going to bring you meat, and when it's on red, nobody's going to bother you, more or less. And they keep bringing the meat to your table. So I tried pork and pork chops and lamb and chicken and all sorts of things. I think I lost count, so I don't know if I ate maybe 6 meats or 5 meats, I don't remember. But this, I really wanted to go here because I wanted kind of to It was my treat for my husband and I, because I felt like it was time for me to do something nice for my husband because he's been the kindest, um, especially in the last few months. We had a good time. We also had caipirinha, which is a famous drink, like the regular alcoholic drink. Maybe it can also be alcoholic drink that we had. And I remember I had it in when I went to Brazil in, what's it called? In Rio de Janeiro. I had it then as well. It was very expensive, by the way. It's very expensive. It's like 60 something dollars per person, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and then we also had the drinks, and then my husband also had dessert, and I had fruits as a dessert, so it was amazing. But the fact that you can keep going back to the salad bar if you want to, that's also pretty cool. Then we went. We are not people who go out in the night and all that, so we weren't interested about the nightlife. And in general, I'm just not interested in the nightlife. We got caught in the rain, so that's why we kind of didn't walk that much more around the town or around the inner harbor that much because it was rainy. So we waited for the rain to stop, and then eventually we made it back to the hotel. And then the next morning, again, we had the breakfast. And I've seen some colored houses on Pinterest, and I was like, I want to go and see those colored houses. And those colored houses were by bus, like maybe half an hour by bus, again with the free bus. But we struggled to find where to take the bus from because, according to Google, there was a stop just across from our hotel, and the bus was supposed to be there every 15 minutes or so, and I think we've been there for like 20 minutes and still no bus. So we were like, okay, let's try and find another one. So finally we went on another main route, and finally we got to another to the free bus. We got to that place. It was so weird because there was nobody around. And now what happened is that I forgot one of the objectives where I wanted to go. From that place, we went to a park, and I wanted to see like a monument. And then I was like, let's go on foot because I'm pretty sure that we can do a little bit of walking around and about. And then also, the weather, it was so hot and humid. The humid was, in my mind, similar to the one in Florida. It was really hot and humid. But I was like, okay, let's do some walking. On our walk, we found like a coffee place where we went and we bought I got a chai latte, iced chai latte or something like that. But the biggest disappointment was that they have a market that is famously known for amazing food that you can have. And in no moment did I thought, I'm in United States, they usually don't offer, and I'm not saying this in a mean way, but it's just informationally wise. Usually they don't close anything during holidays, let alone on the 3rd of July before the 4th of July. So it was crazy to find out that it was closed, both the 3rd and the 4th. We still passed by that place, and we weren't the only ones that were shocked to find out that, I knew in the early morning, I knew that it's closed because I checked online on the Monday morning. But there were people who wanted to go, and they were shocked to see that the door is closed. And I'm like, well, at least I'm not the only idiot who didn't know that on the 3rd of July the market is closed. But then we walked a little bit more, and finally we made it to Edgar Allan Poe graveyard. Which was kind of interesting. There was an actual photographer, and I have to say something. I was amazed from the tourists that I've seen, like 2 or 3 I've seen, they had proper cameras. And for a moment I was like, wait, there are still people who are using actual cameras, not everybody's on their phone anymore? Because for a while I was like, okay, nobody is using a camera anymore, everybody's with their phone. So I was kind of like, you go, you, well done. So yeah, we eventually then we went back to the hotel after that, And I think we walked probably all in all in the 2 days around 40,000 steps, or at least my steps. My steps are probably smaller than my husband's steps. Anyway, um, and then I we went back to the hotel, and we oh the hotel also had, okay, I'm gonna go back to the hotel and talk about the hotel for a little bit. The hotel had a gym and a swimming pool. Now, I didn't understand from the swimming pool what kind of swimming pool is, and when we went to check it, it was so small and so unwelcoming in a basement kind of a thing that I was like, nope, I'm not going. And we would have went for the gym, but we didn't pack any gym clothes, so we didn't go. um, okay, we got back to the hotel, then we relaxed for a little bit, and then eventually we went back to a dinner to have dinner again in the harbor, very close to Fogo de Chao. Unfortunately, I don't remember the restaurant's name, but it was the first time when I had crab cakes. That was my first time ever having crab cakes. And it wasn't disappointing, but I also don't think that it's something that I would really look forward to eating again and again and again and again and again. So it was something that, okay, yum, okay, sure, why not? Um, and this was also very expensive. And I don't know if it was very touristic or not, but there were a lot of people in that place, and we had to wait for like 20 minutes or so until our table was ready. Um, so all in all, oh yeah, I forgot, and then I also forgot to continue to finish my idea. Um, Before, when we were visiting the houses, and then we went to the park, and then we kept walking, 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 and walking some more. We My plan was to also go and see a library, and we were like 3 blocks on a parallel street, and I forgot about it. And I was so upset. And also, when we were in the bus on the way up, uh, I wanted to stop, which was around. There was like a Washington Monument, and I wanted to come back and see what is that about. And I completely forgot about it. So, unfortunately, I also wanted to see a library that is supposed to be really nice looking and all of that, but I forgot. I simply forgot. So this was our trip. It wasn't very full with a lot of stuff, but we really enjoyed it. We didn't want to um, overpack ourselves with things, but I'm pretty sure you can do way, way, way more things. In 2 days, we just kind of seen a few points of attraction, and then try to take it easy. And yeah, we spend a little bit more time in the inner harbor. And then eventually we decided to just go back to the hotel, because again we were waking up very early in the morning the next day. Okay, so now let me just say about the hotel. I went and I asked in the morning, like Monday morning for breakfast. I went and I asked, is it possible? Do you have a takeaway food thingy that I can? Because we're not gonna be here for breakfast. That it's included, right? So they were like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like some hotels they offer takeaway, like a bag with something." And she's like, "Oh, like a bagel and some fruits." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly." She's like, "Sure." So if you can come back a little bit later before you go to bed, we were gonna have it ready for you, so you can take it with you in your room, and then you don't have to ask for it in the morning. So you don't have to wait for anything. You can just check out and leave and all that. And I'm like, amazing. So then I go, when we came back from dinner. When we came back from dinner, and this is when it felt so awkward, and I'm like, why are you making this so fucking complicated? There's no need for you to make it so complicated. So I go and ask, actually, I asked, that was my mistake. I went and I asked, so I wanted to get myself a cup of tea because they had free and coffee offered throughout the day or throughout the day and night in the lobby. So I wanted to get myself a cup of tea, and I asked my husband, can you go and ask for the food? And he's like, I don't even want this. Like, why are you And I'm like, please. Okay. So then as I do that, I go and I finish with the tea. And my husband is like, she said that she doesn't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, oh, here we go. So she comes back and she looks at me and she's like, yes. And I'm like, I'm with him. And he's like, yeah. So what did you want to ask? And I explained to her again. And I'm like, I talked with a colleague of yours and she said that she's going to have it. And she's like, what colleague? And I'm like, I didn't pay attention. And then my husband says, I think her name was Monica. And she looks at him, Monica. And I'm like, okay, if you fucking have a colleague, Monica, I want to slap you right now. If you have a colleague, Monica, and you're playing dumb, you're a fucking asshole. And then I'm saying, can I describe her to you? And she's like, sure. And I was like, I can describe her because she had a shaved head. So that's what I remember about her. And she's like, yeah, okay. Okay, I know what the colleague, I have to call her. So she puts the call on the speaker and calling the colleague and it's taking a time. And then she's like, hey, Monica, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, when my husband sent her name, why did you act like you don't know what you're talking about? Like, what even? Or maybe they have more Monicas than one. I don't fucking know. Anyway, I hear that the person said, oh, yeah, I was just saying that you should put some bagels and some fruits and some cream cheese and something like that in a bag and just give it to them. And like for, how many? I'm like, for 2 people. And I'm like, okay. So then she's like, and she's telling that someone from, I don't know, another team member should do this. And then she's like finishing the call with that person, which again, it was on speaker and I heard everything that they were talking. And I'm like, this feels so intrusive though. But anyway, so then she calls on the station, she calls her colleague. And she's like, hey, are you busy right now? And again, I was able to hear everything. Are you busy right now? She was like, it depends. What do you want? And she's like, well, you know, so I have a guest here. And then she says the whole story again. And it's making me feel so fucking awkward. And I hate this interaction very much. And finally, she says, okay, she's going to bring it to your room. So you can just go ahead. And okay. So we went upstairs. I took a shower. And while I was taking the shower, somebody brought the things. So I know that my husband didn't want to eat. But guess what? We came back on the 4th of July. And some shops were closed. And we actually did eat the freaking bagel and stuff like that. And also some fruits during the day. Because we had prepared a nice dinner, like ribs, amazing, fantastic, great pork ribs done by him. But in the first part of the day, we didn't quite have food. So that was kind of good that I did that. I'm saying this as I hope that you listener are on my side and not on my husband's side, who said that he doesn't want any food. Not me trying to get people on my side from my podcast. No, I'm not doing that. I don't know what you mean. So yes, this was the trip in Baltimore. The people at the hotel kind of annoyed me. But other than that, everything was kind of okay. We didn't get shot. Nothing, unfortunately, some people did get shot and some people actually died. So I'm not taking this lightly. But we have not been in any danger at any point whatsoever. We try to stay during day to just visit some neighborhoods and so on, but during night we were back at the hotel. That being said, I have to finish this episode because I'm so freaking sweaty from stopping the AC and the ventilator and everything to be able to record this. It's horrible. I hate summer, and I hate summer in New York. And I know everybody's gonna, but you moved there. Yes, I moved there because I love, at the time, my boyfriend, now he's my husband, but I still miss a bit of Icelandic summer in which I was able to breathe. I hated how cold it was and so on. Anyway, my point is that this was the episode. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time.